I'm reminded of a story from Rumi. Some
Yes.
of you have heard it, for I'm sure. But the difference between spirituality and mysticism. And he gives a figure of this. There's man who, a hunter, who's obsessed with getting the sight of this mountain lion. He has like heard about this mountain lion that prowls in this mountainous area, and so he sets out to go after this uh, mountain lion. Certain very few people have ever sighted this lion, and so he he gets all of his gear and everything, and he follows any kind of tracks he can, any word from any other people in the area. And months go by, and he feels he's getting closer and closer until one day he's convinced that it's on this one peak. And so he climbs up on a lower peak, and suddenly he looks up above him, and the mountain lion is there on the higher peak, caught by the setting sun. He's transfixed. It's the most magnificent thing he's ever seen. But suddenly mountain lion turns on him, sees him, and heads down the mountain after him. That's when spirituality ends and mysticism begins.
Good.
But he said that spirituality, you can always make progress. You're always making progress, but mysticism is about being destroyed, effaced. I guess is a more polite way of saying it.
Wow.
So that's why VJ never goes up mountain climbing. Stays down here where it's safe.
It's
Darn,
a
I thought
vast.
the moral of that story is that's when you really start praying. You thought you were praying before.
Yeah. So he comes down the mountain after you. Anybody have any, Angela, do you have any interesting stories that you've heard lately? Anything that
Hmm.
comes to mind?
Nothing's coming immediately to mind.
Uh huh.
Angela, will there be any other special guests? The weekends are becoming just
They're so jam
hot.
packed.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're actually a little late for Thanksgiving, which is actually kind of nice because next week, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
And are you gonna? There's on Thanksgiving. There will be things happening. Yeah.
We have no plan other than our usual Thursday events.
Fine. That's good.
Various things just didn't come together, so you know what? That's fine. Let everybody eat their feast and enjoy.
Enjoy their immediate two or three friends.
Yeah, right.
Odd.
Immediate family or
I got a
what are you
couple
doing
of,
for Thanksgiving, Jeff?
not much, just, there, three of us are going to have, two of us are going to have turkey, and someone's going to have tofu.
There you go. Tofurkey?
Yeah.
Oh, they are perfecting
Yeah.
those fake meats. I love them. The burgers and the yeah, better for you.
I got a
Look,
couple of quotes from Baba, short ones, where Baba says, "Man has buried his divinity in the debris of his own actions. Man has buried his divinity in the debris of his own actions." But here's one. Uh, to someone who complained about Baba frequently changing his plans, he said, "This is Baba. I never make plans. I never change plans. It is all one never-ending plan to make you realize there is no plan." I'll read that one again. I never make plans. I never change plans. It is all one never ending plan to make you realize there is no plan.
One
Very
never-ending
good.
plan.
Never
Right.
ending plan to make you realize there is no plan. There's just
Yes.
God. Here's one. Here's Kabir. I don't know if I've read this. They refer to the Prophet Muhammad sometimes as the beloved, sometimes as the friend, sometimes as the guest. so Kabir says, friend, find the guest while you are alive. What you call salvation belongs to the time before death. If you don't break your chains while you're living, do you think ghosts will do it for you after death? What is found now is found then. If you find nothing now, you'll simply end up with a cheap apartment in the city of death. But if you fall in love with the divine now, in your next life, you will have the face of fulfilled longing. Yeah.
I'm taking
Anybody have? Hey, what about Alan? You got anything there?
Hey Jeff, I just literally popped on here. I was thinking, I think Jeff's calling me.
Jeff.
Yeah, I got something.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lenita. Go ahead.
Yeah, go,
No,
Lenita.
okay, go on. I just have a little story.
Yeah, I want to hear the story. I gotta get my tea first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alan.
His teeth.
Oops. What happened? It disappeared. Oh, okay. It's from the real treasure, Rustam Falahati.
Yeah, beautiful.
Stop trying and start remembering. Nana Care was one of Baba's early disciples who later came to live at Mehrabad. Unlike Mansari, he lived at Lower Mehrabad, but would come up the hill every day to sit outside the Samadhi and give pilgrims prasad as they left. Like Baal, he hadn't lived with Baba on a continuous basis, but used to come for Baba's darshan and would spend time with Baba at Guru Prasad during the summer months. Many pilgrims will remember Nana's warm embrace when they first arrive at the Samadhi and his smiling welcome home greeting. Once Nana got to know you, he would ask, do you remember Baba throughout the day? Most would say something along the lines, well, I try. Nana would then lovingly tell you, do not try. Trying is not enough. You must remember him. Baba said, remember me. He did not say, try to remember me. This seemed illogical to me, and I argued with Nana about it. He told me to bring him the discourses and show him any place where Baba said, try to remember me. So for the next few days, I flipped through the discourses, but I could not find the relevant quote. Finally, I found a quote in Master of Consciousness, reading by Alan Cohen, in which Baba used to use the word try. Nana just laughed when I showed this to him, and insisted that I had to show him the same quote in Baba's discourses, or he would not change his stand that Baba's always said, remember me and never try to remember me. I protest that I didn't have time to go through the entire discourse. Nana didn't say anything for a moment or two, and then he turned to me and said, have you heard of mountaineers? Mountaineer. Have you heard? Nana said it to Rustam. Have you heard of mountaineers? You know, mountaineers, people who climb the mountains.
Well, mountaineers, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard of mountaineers making an attempt?
Uh-oh, your sound has gone off, Lenita. Uh, Lenita, we lost you.
Oh.
Yeah, now we hear you.
Okay. Where did I stop?
At mountaineers.
Okay. Have you heard the mountaineers make an attempt to scale a peak? What great preparations, what great efforts, and what great hardships and trials they face while trying to reach the very summit. They risk their lives, and some even lose their lives while trying to reach the peak. But think of the glory one experiences when they finally succeed in reaching the top, how exhilarating it must feel. Then what about the ultimate glory of God realization? How much more is expected of us to scale that peak? Should we risk everything and give our best effort for that ultimate glory? No sacrifice is too big to reach the ultimate goal. And Nana concludes, effort invites grace. So stop trying and start remember him. Jayba.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. His one of his main practices was saying Baba's name inwardly, all day and all night. Baba, Baba, Baba. Nanakar, yeah. And then he would pace on under the portico in front of the tomb with Baba's name with each step. He had all different ways. But
No,
that was,
I am amazed how in this story he goes through so much, research and he went through so much to prove Ruston that Baba never said try to remember, Baba never said that, but just remember. And he wants to prove that he did it.
That you're mentioning a mountaineer reminds me of one time somebody asked Baba, he was God, that you should, you could be able to give me God realization. Can you give it to me? And Baba said, what if you were climbing a mountain, and you've got all your gear. I'm what can I say? Paraphrasing. And you have all your gear, and you start up the mountain. What if a helicopter came alongside of you and said, "I'll take you up to the top"? Would you would you hop on board the helicopter and go to the top? No. And the guy said no. So part of it is the climbing and the effort and everything to get there.
Yeah.
So Baba kind of dispatched that
The
thought in this
helicopter.
guy's
No
head.
way. Yes, that's true.
So Alan, what you got there?
Yeah, just on the line of what Lenita was talking about. I was just thinking about today about the word, I guess, psychic energy and how that gets dispersed. If one is thinking about all different types of things, like if you're kind of focused on
your cat?
Yeah.
Cat?
If you're focused on your cat, or if you're focused on all these different things, your psychic energy gets, and I don't mean psychic as in psychic in the general term, but like your actual, the energy you utilize in your lifetime to focus on the master and to, it gets dispersed if you're distracted, I guess. And I kind of came across this in discourses where Baba says, let me see, Baba says
about worry. Yeah.
No, he says just as good health requires constant elimination of waste products and poisonous substances, spiritual health requires the expulsion of undesirable thoughts and emotions. So I thought that quote, for some reason, kind of struck me like, wow, if, in a real practical sense, the way that you, the way that your course of thoughts is going, and if you allow your course of thoughts to kind of build up momentum into a certain stream of formation, then it's kind of like this buildup of like you not going to the bathroom or something. You're like holding it all in, and you can kind of get blocked up, and eventually start stinking, and then people start noticing, and they're like, "Hey, man, like, when's the last
Yeah.
time you took a shower?" Or when's the last time you used the bathroom? Your stomach's getting all full there, or I don't know. Like, I just think that if that's the case, that we really can get filled up with this kind of psychic energy build up. It's really important then what all the stuff that Darwin's speaking on, and in the effort part and the inner work. I feel like that's
Yeah.
very practical. That line just kind of struck me like it's very, very practical to do it. It's not just like kind of like up in the air, like you got to just remember Baba, good, like it's good for you. It's like it's your life. It's like why you're here. Like it just struck me in that way. So anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, remembering Baba or saying his name dissolves a lot of that garbage, that accumulation of mental garbage,
Yeah.
And Darwin used to say, people are very often are very, um, very circumspect about what they eat, and they try to, you know, stay away from, junk food. But they may be filling their mind with junk thoughts,
Right.
just kind of frivolous, thoughts and so it kind of, and you get a mental indigestion, you might say. So it does require doing something with this collection of thoughts that you accumulate during the day, and try to dissolve them so that you don't carry them on to the next day. That's a lot of the inner work that goes on. Giving
Yeah.
it to Baba, of course, is one of the and develop a way of giving these things. Baba's right there. He likes all this stuff. He he doesn't mind our sewage spilling over into him. Just get rid of it. Or you've read where Baba said that can a polluted river pollute the ocean when it flows in? The ocean is just too vast.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's incredible. That line is just spiritual health requires the expulsion of undesirable thoughts and emotions. Spiritual. I mean, I just never heard him say spiritual health. That's
Yeah.
something that
Whereabouts is that written?
this is discourses. This is online discourses, volume 2, page
Uh-huh.
122.
Huh.
And it's kind of in it's kind of in the chapter I don't read a lot into, which is the chapter speaking on different types of meditations and all
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
I haven't really I just never thought I needed to scan through there, but today I just I picked out. There's always some things that he says I'm recognizing in these chapters. It might be something like selfishness, for example, but then he starts talking about all these little these one-liners or two-liners where I'm like, man, I could have really used that. I had that question when I was reading the chapter about like selfless service, or it just kind of all intertwines. But
Yeah, that way you have to read the book again
yeah,
and again.
yeah. Might be helpful to read it all the way through.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to you about this. What Erich's way of kind of getting out of the world of thought that people are harassed by is to bring your consciousness from in your head down into the heart area and keep it down there. because you can't think when you're down at the level of the heart. You have to go upstairs into the mind to think. But we actually don't need thoughts to think. We at the heart level we have an intuition that operates quite well, and it can draw down whatever information we need. But when you're stationed at the level of the heart on an abiding way, you're really not harassed by thoughts. But they are there. I mean, most people have thoughts going all day long. Just yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing as well that I was reading in that around that chapter, which is that, I mean, he was talking about meditation, but then I was really feeling like Bob was saying something to me in the lines of, like, in general, whatever your thoughts are kind of are focused on, or you could just be like, walking to the store and then you just look across, and something on the street takes your eye, and you want to, and you're all of a sudden you're kind of meditating on you're meditating on that object, or whatever it is, or you could even be meditating on a thought like, well, I really wonder why that person said that to me, and then you kind of start meditating on them and creating these formations. And I was just thinking, like, or I just when he was talking about the importance of changing the course of your thoughts. I mean, you hear it over and over, but then something about it today, just when I read it, it was like how important that we are, the time we have in this our bodies right now. It's very crucial. Uh, it's all. I mean, all the things we've lived and suffered is in this moment nil, and all the things we've enjoyed and the pleasures that we keep trying to fill in that void are all nil. It's like it's just gone, and we have the opportunity to contact him live, kind of presently, anytime, if we just choose to be change that core, because it's such a thick layer of thoughts, and we think we know what we want, or what we need, or I think there's a difference there. But how do we to pierce through those thoughts, or to actually, oh, that was the thing you were talking about, not wrestling with them, not giving it so much importance, because negative thoughts from the subconscious will rise, and he said not to wrestle with them so much, because that just feeds them more. Like, that's the act of repression, where you just start to think like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about those lustful thoughts, oh God, oh geez, and you try to bury it, and it just gets more intense. And it's more like, just you recognize that that's there, and you let them pass until they starve. You use that word, let them starve, and that was really helpful. You don't have to
Baba
fight
said
so much.
in meditation to if you get distracted, come back to the object of your meditation.
That's
come
right.
back to Baba. And then
Right.
you go way off somewhere in the thought, and then as soon as you realize you're way out there, come back again. But don't say, "Oh, why did I go out there? What did I do? How did it happen?" Just come back.
Right. That was that's
One of the metaphors I think of thought is, say, suppose there's a train going by, and on the other side of the train is a field, which is the soul. But the train cars are going by so fast, you don't even know there's a soul on the other side until the train starts to slow down, and you can start to see between the cars. You can catch a glimpse of the soul on the other side. And then eventually the the car with millions of, I mean, the train with millions of cars has run its course, and then you can see over into the soul. But but where so many people, they're looking through thought, and trying, Baba says it's like turning the binoculars around the other way, and the soul seems very small. But if you turn the binoculars around the right way, everything is up close and intimate. That's when you're looking through the eye of the heart, you might say.
Yeah,
Rather,
that line of Baba's when he says that the soul continues on. He was talking about something about, I think I don't know if it was death or something, but it was like the simple fact that I have such a hard time with the fact that the soul is continuous and it will keep going until that final death. But I feel like Alan really has got this one chance or something, and he's desperate to hold on to all the things that mean something to him. And that's my cup, and that's my computer, and this is what I want to do, and I'm comfortable with that. And that seems to be, in another sense, not to, it's like that's my nature. It's like the drop. That's my particular drop soul nature. I have a certain nature to this particular soul, but it's not just going to end with a physical death. That's
yeah,
also that's also in the mix of today's thought of today's uh yeah, just it starts to break down. Like if you start to think, like if you start to realize like how I start to see how much I'm like holding on to my own physical form through the thoughts I've been having, and then um it's like, oh man, that's, well, where do you yeah, it's just not so worrisome. It feels like a load off my shoulders or something. Like I really don't have to figure this out and
yeah,
try to worry my way through life. I don't know.
yeah. And for lifetimes and lifetimes, our our arbiter of whether things are true or not is we go to the mind, to
Yeah.
thought. That habit has to be broken, and then with our heart we feel our way around. But even that, eventually, after lifetimes, uh, we decide, I don't like to look through the heart anymore. That's too narrow. So we eventually look through the soul.
Yeah.
And that's Baba's kind of taking us you know through that. you
Yeah.
know back in my college days, I was kind of up in my head because that's the big thing, to educate and everything like that. And after I got into Baba kind of uncoupled my awareness, which was looking through the lens of thought, and dropped it down to the heart level. that that was uh, a major step, and my life became much more expansive.
Is that
What
an overnight thing or more of subtly through
It
time?
kind of happened quite rather quickly, actually.
And you could tell the difference immediately?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like, you're all hassled with your work, and then you take a drive in the country, and everything is so expansive and everything. It's that
Mm,
it's right there within us, but it's somehow we keep returning up to the head.
right. So you're saying you now at this, this time in your life, you're more you're more expansive than you were when you first you were
Definitely.
younger and you're learning about Baba, and
Yeah. Yeah, things get much more expansive, more spacious. You take yourself less and less seriously. I
Jeff,
I told. Oh, go ahead, Lenita. Yeah.
no, I just see here on the chat, Matt. I think Matt Kelly. I don't know if it's Matt Kelly or not.
Yeah,
This
I
guy,
think it's Matt Kelly.
he asked,
What do you?
does anyone remember the story of the two French mountaineers? I don't know. I don't remember.
No, Matt, have you got? I don't know the story.
Yeah, it's actually this story I heard on Mondley Hall Talks. It was actually someone had performed it at Mondley Hall, probably in the 70s or something. But the story is about two French mountaineers. One name is, and I might get the names mixed, Jacques, and the other is Michel. So Jacques Michelle are going up to the Mount Everest. They start their journey. It's very nice. They're making very good progress. And then a snowstorm. The wind starts blowing. The blizzard, it's coming. All of a sudden, it's just snow. And you can, Jack, can you see me? Jack yells, Michelle, do you hear me? Yes, Jack. And they climb up and they're slowly going up and they're slowly getting more. The wind they get. Michelle says, Jack, can you hear me? Michelle, I've fallen. Jack, don't worry. I'll throw down you a rope. Thank you, but my legs are broken and my arm, I think, are broken. Jack, I throw you the rope. You put it in your mouth and I pull you up. Jack, do you hear what I said?
Yep.
See, he had the rope in his mouth.
Yes, that's that. Beautiful. And that we probably do various versions of that. Hey, I see Elizabeth is up there. Elizabeth.
I've been listening quietly, but
yeah,
Alan, Alan's. So I love the discourses, and Alan was talking about the detritus of our minds and thoughts and how we get rid of them. And I was flipping through trying to find the passage that he was reading from. I couldn't find it, but he started talking about about disturbing thoughts, and I flipped to that. So I just wanted to read something from that about dealing with these thoughts, and it's from Types of Meditation Part 1. And I think I have a different edition, though. I'm on page 123. So it says, in ordinary thinking, the uninterrupted flow of relevant trains of ideas is common. But when the mind sets itself to systematic meditation, there is inevitably a reactionary tendency for irrelevant and contrary thoughts to emerge and create disturbances. This is in italics, the law of the mind. And the aspirant should not be upset by the appearance in consciousness of many contrary and unwholesome thoughts, which had hitherto never made their appearances. Meditation involves bringing the subconscious contents of the mind to the forefront of consciousness. Like the conjurer who summons into existence many strange and unexpected things, the process of meditation invites many absurd and unwanted thoughts. The aspirant must expect and be prepared for all these disturbing thoughts and should exercise inexhaustible patience, and that's also italicized, with unshakable confidence that ultimately all these disturbances will be overcome. And then I'll just go on, it's not too much longer. The last but not least important for attaining success in meditation is adoption of the italicized right technique for handling disturbing thoughts and mental influences. It is useless to waste psychic energy by trying directly to combat and repress disturbing thoughts. Any such attempt involves giving further attention to them, and they feed upon the very attention given for the purpose of repressing them, thereby being further strengthened and confirmed in consciousness. It is best to ignore them and turn to the object of meditation as early as possible without attaching any undue importance to the disturbing factors. And then also italicize the ending portion. By recognizing the irrelevance and worthlessness of disturbing thoughts and the relative value and importance of the object of meditation, it becomes possible to let the disturbing thoughts die through sheer neglect thus making the mind permanently steady in the object of meditation.
Beautiful. That was perfect, right in line with what we were talking about.
Yeah, it's also in line with the metaphor that I always find helpful is the mosquito net. So you have all these mosquitoes whirling around, but the mosquito net protects you.
Yeah, of his remembrance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, last time at Effort and Grace, Elizabeth, you brought up a very, I think, one of the crucial things in this life with Baba, which is that love and feelings are different. I mean, emotions and feelings are different from love.
Right.
That is not easily discovered, but there's a qualitative difference, and even to perceive that there's a difference, I think is invaluable help. Because you can wander around in emotions and feelings forever and not necessarily get closer to love. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with feelings, but they are just reflect at the highest level. They reflect love, but they're not the source of love. You know, it's like the moon, you know, reflects the sun, but if you were trying to look for the source of of light, you really don't want to go to the moon, you want to go to the sun. You follow? But there's that quote of Baba's where he says, feelings and emotions are the creation of mind and energy. Love is the creation of the soul. Those are Baba's words.
Yes, and so I've always had a lot of emotions and feelings, and great one to fall in love and all of that. But what I discovered, love can be extremely hard, and I'm talking about just love of any particular person. It often happens with family members, and in my particular case, this was the experience I was having. And I had been extremely hurt, felt betrayed, all of those bad things you can feel. And yet this person was someone I loved, and how to continue to love given that was really a spiritual task, and it wasn't easy at all. And to continue to love in spite of all of any deep, deep, deep hurt.
Yeah.
Not easy. And there are other challenges. I'm just saying that's one type of challenge.
Yeah. A very common thing that people have to deal with. I mean, sometimes from parents or somebody in their workplace. You know, you
and
love
often
them.
holidays.
You love them, but they can be abusive toward you, and you wind up tolerating it because of your love, and very hard to protect yourself from. You know, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, so that's very difficult. You know, here's what. Just keep on that subject, but I wanted to. I found something here that I think you might find interesting. Kitty Davy, most of you know Kitty Davy. Um, at the Southeast Gathering, now Kitty Davy was one of the Mandalay, great love and so selfless and giving. So at the Southeast Gathering, somebody asked Kitty, just, if she felt she had reached the point of love that we'd been discussing, of feeling love for everyone and everything, that omnipresent praise and awareness of Baba and his love in all things at all times, that state to which we are all aspiring. Kitty was asked that. And everybody watched, fascinated to see how Kitty would answer this. And she really took that very intimate question deeply into her being. She didn't answer for a long time. I mean, there are all these people out there listening, and everyone was very quiet. And finally, she stammered that she never really thought about that before. Then, thinking very deeply, she slowly said, I don't really know. All I know is that I am always trying to please Baba, to think what would please him. That was her answer. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, the question that she was asked, do you really feel all this love for everyone and see Baba in everything? And she said, I don't really know. All I know is that I am always trying to please Baba, to think what would please him.
But
Yeah.
it seems to me that love like that is aspirational.
Yeah.
And Baba also talked about what's better than, let's see, love is obedience, and better than obedience is surrender, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I may have the quote wrong, but
Yeah.
the idea of surrender and obedience to try to do what Baba has asked us to do, at least what we try to understand that he's asked us to do,
Yeah.
puts us on the path toward that love. But I mean, we are imperfect beings. I think it's difficult. Even when we think we're doing the right thing, we find out that we've hurt somebody we don't mean to, or whatever it may happen to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we're works in progress.
Yeah, when Jeff, do you think, of all the Mondli you've ever met, or what you've heard from them, I think you could say that just to please him, that's what I've heard from all of the Mondli. That's all they cared about. The close one, the Eriches, the Monis.
Yeah. Yeah, their attention
But is
was
it
over on
possible?
Baba, not on pleasing themselves, but on what would please Baba. And they had many years of following Baba's every movement, every indication of his moods, everything. They tried to keep track of that so that they could be of
Amazing.
any help possible. Yeah.
Do you think, the love you felt from Mondli wasn't personal, but it was personal too? Do you
Yeah.
think it was both?
Definitely. Very, very personal, very intimate, and at the same time had a universal quality to it. Yeah. I mean, I think they were seeing Baba in us, but it was very personal. That's the lovely thing about when I first went to India, and I thought the Mandali would be these spiritual giants. I mean, I was young, and they spent all their decades with God Himself. And I got there and I was so relieved to find out they were just like my favorite aunts and uncles. What a relief! Oh, I can be like that. I got to work my way to it, but that's doable. To be, to be inclusive, to be empathetic, to be generous, have a sense of humor. They had all the the divinely human qualities right there in front of me. They were not esoteric. They weren't, transcendental. They were qualities that we all know uh, so well. We've seen it in the course of our life. Yeah.
Do you feel you had a connection with any one Mondli more than another?
Yeah. But boy, you could be close to all of them because they were very close to you somehow. You know what I mean? They knew you quite well, and I don't know. They were all like aunts and uncles of each different. But some of them, of course, Erich was great to be around, and Mara, and Mani and Balkauturi. They're great people to just be with, as you know.
I have a theory that there is a Mondley for each personality.
Yeah.
For instance, my connection, even though I really admired Erich and I wanted to be one of the Erich boys, I wasn't. My connection was with Alaba, of all people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Alaba was unique. On fire. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to check to see how Ganesh is doing. He's over there kind of, you know, struck dumb by a day of work.
He's
Sorry, I was
muted.
on mute. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. No, I'm just enjoying what is being shared over here, and I'm absorbing, especially what Elizabeth had shared, and I was just listening to all that. So it's going beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm just in mood of absorbing what is being shared over here.
Someone came to the center with a sticker, a bumper sticker that said, "Don't believe your thoughts." There's a great truth in that, but we just automatically believe our thoughts. Oh, what's that person like? Bam, there's a thought. He's a jerk. Or, hey, it just feeds up anything. And we believe it. Just like the elections were rigged. And that habit, that habit has just been there for lifetime after lifetime. And the mind kind of is the one that draws the conclusions about things for a long time until intuition, until we start to value intuition. Yeah.
I think I wonder about the different shoes that we're filling here in terms of where we are. That it's like 50 years and a little bit of change since he's left his body, and the Mondli are not here, and now we're here working with divine impressions and our thoughts and each other. Like we have each
You know
other.
what? One thing. That's one thing on that. When Alan, you're saying about this, it just reminds me that few weeks back, before I was contemplating with somebody, like Baba said that he is like for the next 100 years. It's like his presence is same as he's in the physical body, especially when you go to the samadhi. So 50 years are already passed, and we have just 50 years. So where his presence is very strong. So we are in this important phase of time.
I gotta
And
get
Baba
to the
said,
samadhi.
Yeah. It's like
and
he's
that
there beside you.
Yes.
So Jeff, can you talk about the banana wallas, the people who were born within the 20 years after he dropped his body, and the interlinks?
Well, I think this is something that Balkauturi would say, and I do feel that we have all been with Baba, in one form or another. We have actually seen him and been with him, and whether we got 2 bananas or 5 bananas or what, we have been with. How could we get drawn to? Especially from the West, how could you get drawn to someone 10,000 miles away who didn't leave a successor, and and we're into his personality. It's not just. I had friends of mine who agreed entirely with Baba's teachings, but they just didn't have the connection to Baba's personality. And I think because they hadn't met him like we did. So we, what do you think we were doing in the 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s? I guess I don't know. We were there. We saw him. We were with him. I'm convinced. I don't have any doubts about that. And then one thing that you said, Alan, there, the Mandali are back amongst us. And Baba's close ones, they are back. So it's not like the Mandali era is over and there are people, we're just kind of wandering around blindly, just trying to get whatever we can from books or, movies. There are, Baba's old Mandali are around and we're going to bump into them.
Yeah, they must be doing some sort of other kind of the continuation of their work.
Well, you wouldn't even know them. I mean, there's one guy, who Baba said when he was a boy. Baba said that he had been Narina Machabelli.
Right.
But if you met him, I've hung out with him and everything. Wonderful guy, but he doesn't. It's not like there's lights coming out of him, or you know what I mean. It's what can I say? He was Norina and he was Joseph in the time of Jesus. So
Good.
here he is. He comes to the center. We got him on the board of the center because he had been Norina, so he helped develop the place in his last life. So, it's very natural. I mean, he is so natural that naturalness there's something divine about the naturalness.
But did that guy have any intuition about that, or I mean, how did anyone know?
Well, Baba told him.
Oh.
See that boy there? That boy, had been Narina.
Oh. So did he ever say he felt like he'd been Narina? I mean, I wonder what it feels like whenever you have come back and you're told that you're this.
He kind of laughs about it. He had to grow up with people kind of pointing at him. There's Narina, reincarnation of Narina. He had to live with that. But a wonderful person. You would enjoy, just a very fine quality. But it's not like he's elevated.
Mm-hmm.
He's just very real and natural.
They say that that Balkachuri was a person. What was the person's name? Started with a D.
Nervous.
Yeah. So, was Nervous a Prim Ashram boy?
No, one of the early Mandali.
And I've never heard anything about him. What did he do? I mean, what was his role? I'm sorry. What was his role in the early Mandali?
Was he the one that he knew Baba even before Baba began his mission? I think he wanted to be an actor, but he was always nervous. I don't know. I can't remember that for sure, but I think Baba nicknamed him Nervous because he had a little bit of stage fright. But that I can't remember. I think that's something.
I think he was right there in the beginning, and especially the Ferguson College Road hut. The Ferguson College Road hut, that during that time when Baba was started his moved out of his house and started staying at Kasba Pet, in that little house at Kasba Pet, and then goes to Ferguson College Road hut. He was staying in that hut. I think he was all there. Then Baba moves to Manzile Meem, so maybe he was still there then.
Yeah, I just
he was one of the first persons in the group that joined Baba.
Yeah, very early on.
Well, for some reason, weren't there two people in particular who attached themselves to Baba extremely early on? Two different men. And I don't think Nervous was one of the ones, but
I think Baramji. There was a guy.
Sadashiv Patil was one. Sadashiv Patil. He was the one who got Baba the Kasba Pet hut, and he was there right till the end. So he was living in Pune. He was one. Then it was in the early days itself that Adi K. Irani came to Baba.
And there was one of the boys or young men, who went with Baba to the tower, and Baba went
Bailey,
in.
Bailey Rani. Bailey.
Yeah, but
wasn't Gustaji, Ganesh?
No,
Gustaji.
Bailey, who used to go with Baba to the tower. In the night, they used to cycle and go to the Tower of Silence. So Bailey was his childhood friend.
But Gustav was a friend of Baba very early on, you know.
Yeah.
Baba became Baba, you know. Gustav was his really good friend, wasn't he?
Well, Gustaji came Gustaji was a disciple first of Sai Baba, then Upasni Maharaj, and then Upasni Maharaj told him to join Baba. So he wasn't from Baba's childhood, but he was there early.
No. Oh, okay.
Ghani.
Sorry, I thought.
So
Dr. Ghani.
Ganesh, can you put in the chat the names of the two men who were with Baba early on? Because I couldn't quite understand what you were saying.
One was Bailey.
Bailey and Dr. Ghani, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Ghani was one person.
Patil.
You know the story of Bailey and Baba at the Tower of Silence and seeing the ghost?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see.
You know
Tell
how
it.
you can tell ghost?
No, how?
You can tell a ghost because it has the feet are backwards. So if you not forwards, they're backwards.
Really?
The feet of a ghost.
Wow.
That would creep me out.
I didn't know that the feet is backwards. Wow.
Yeah.
That guy don't look right.
I would be afraid to look. I would be too afraid to go to the Tower of Silence. And
So Matt,
Baba ran into lots of ghosts there.
So Matt, they walk backwards then? If their feet are backward, they walk backwards. They're just going back. They're going just back, and they never go forward.
Let me see. Let's see how Dinku's doing.
Moonwalk. That's how the moonwalk.
Who said that? Moonwalk.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Nervous met Baba in 1919. His original name is Kodat Farad Irani.
Yeah.
And he wanted to become an actor. Baba brought him to make him an actor, and he was employed in the toddy shop then. And he, along with Bailey and subsequently Gustaji in 1990, worked in the toddy shop also.
Yeah, he was. I think I remember he was an aspiring actor or whatever, but nervous.
Yeah.
Dinkle. Hi, Dinkle.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
She's
Jai Baba.
She's back
Baba.
on air,
Yeah, I am.
like Rachel
Actually,
Maddow.
the Tower of Silence here in Bombay is a beautiful place. Very peaceful and really lovely. So I've had to stay there once, but not scary at all.
Do they? Is it still used or not?
Yes, it is, but I'm not too sure. Initially, I know when the lockdown started, they wouldn't accept any bodies, and they had to be cremated. But I don't know if they've restarted it or not.
Uh-huh. It's not exactly the place you want to take a picnic, right?
No, it's not.
Fall asleep.
So does anyone understand that Zoroastrian practice of the, I know they put them out in the open and for the birds to, for nature to take its course. Does anyone know any of the philosophical underpinnings of that?
Well, the little that I know is that this was a practice from ancient Iran when the Zoroastrians were in Iran. And the idea was to give back to nature. And, you're it was like donating your body, not just to the elements, but also, let the birds feed on them. That was sort of it. And here initially they started the Tower of Silence. There are these huge round cylindrical structures. If I can find a photograph somewhere, I'll share it. And the bodies are taken and you can go, we, the normal people, can go up to the point, but there's special pallbearers who can take the body into this well, and they're kept there for the birds to feed on. Mainly it used to be vultures, but now the vultures are extinct because there's so much of development, all around. And so it's just the crows and the elements. I think, in a couple of towers, they put in solar panels, to help decompose the body sooner.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work during the monsoon season. So, there are times sometimes when you get a stench around there when you go for a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't Baba's father working in the...
Yeah. Baba's father worked in the Tower of Silence. Yeah.
But now they've made there is a crematorium where a lot of Parsis, prefer to cremate rather than go for this. I did that for my mother. I had her cremated when she passed away.
We got a picture of Zoroaster there. Baba said that's a photograph of when he looked like Zoroaster.
Which one? Can you share it?
Yeah, right there. Alan is showing it.
Oh, hang on a sec.
Baba said that's he's posing as Zoroaster.
Yeah.
Draw it back a little bit. There he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in one of the books, maybe the Purnam book, they have a photograph of the Tower of Silence. It's really a beautiful structure, round,
Yeah. It's very tall.
Yeah, I might have a picture. I'll see if I can find it.
Mayor Prasad, you got anything handy there? Anything you've been pondering?
No, not really. Just listening in.
That's good. What about Diane and Terry? Oh, go ahead, Dinku. Yeah.
I just wanted to share this. In Arnavaz's book, Gift of God, can I just read out that little bit?
Yeah.
We moved to the Dardar district to Banu Lodge, a big bungalow where we rented 2 rooms and a kitchen at the back that was separate from the main house. Now, that Banu Lodge belonged to my ex-husband's family, and that's where I went when I married him the first time.
Huh.
So I'd lived there, and for a while. But there was another outhouse kind of a place where apparently Baba lived for a while. And it was, hang on, where is it gone? Here. Baba's mother and his brother Behram and wife Perrin lived in a small cottage in the same compound. So I know exactly, the whole layout of the place.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Wow.
You've been following in his footsteps.
Yeah, it seems so because it's been around. I mean, everywhere around me somehow or the other.
Kind of like the coronavirus, you know.
Please, not that.
You got a permanent case.
No, I've got a permanent case of Baba's love.
Yeah.
Hey, I just the other day I was wondering what did Baba look like at 19? What did Baba look like when he was my age? And this is this is about the time when he was my age, 1923.
Wow.
And then there's another one over here.
In Quetta?
Yeah. It looks pretty wild right there.
Yeah.
He's got the little fur boots.
Alan, show the other one you were showing. I was away looking for this picture. Yeah. There's one picture of Baba, Alan, and I think you remind me of him in that picture. It's in his early 20s where his hair is kind of wild.
Early 20s?
Yes, you remind me. You look almost exactly like Baba in those photographs.
You know who really looks like Baba in his older years is Robert De Niro when you look at him from the side in his older age. He really like it hit me in the new movie The Irishman when I watched it. I was like, "Oh my god, he could play Baba."
Uh-huh.
So he has a cousin who is in Exeter, Massachusetts at this fantastic store called Lunachicks. And I met her, and she's Robert De Niro's cousin. Kind of interesting. Wow. Yeah.
He's his cousin?
Yeah. They had a dog named Sophie, anyway, in the shop. But I did not meet Robert De Niro, just his cousin.
He seems like a pretty serious guy.
Yeah.
How are Diane and Terry? Are you around over there? So, do you folks have any examples of intuition operating in your life? Well, I'll ask Telly. What's your experience of intuition?
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Baba said that intuition is always 100% correct, but accessing it is the challenge.
Yeah.
And believing it when it comes in. Yeah.
Sometimes I look on synchronicity as a form of intuition.
Yeah.
And so I pay attention to when synchronicities occur.
Yeah, things that just are impossible, to, to all sink in beautifully.
Yeah.
You're thinking of your aunt, and suddenly you get a phone call from her, and you haven't thought of her in 3 months. That
Really?
type of thing.
Exactly. Sometimes it could be you hear a song.
Yeah.
It seems to completely fit into where you're thinking or what your situation is. It's beautiful how it does that.
Oh, I thought you were going to play a song. Yeah. But I see what you mean. Yeah.
It happens a lot of times, but the thing is, we're not aware of it all the time. It's around us practically, on a regular basis, but we just have to tune in and increase our awareness as to, oh, okay, this is it.
You mean the synchronicity, things falling into place?
Yeah, that as well as the intuitive part. When you do something that is not really what you would do it. You just happen to do something, and then you realize, wow, I did that.
That it was
Uh,
just
yeah, if something prompted you to do something, you know, it's like that.
yeah. It's a great place to live from.
That happens to me a lot, actually. I'll be thinking of somebody, and I know when I'm getting a continuous prompting that I need to call that person. And usually something has happened. Like, for example, a friend who's close to me, I knew her brother was sick, but I kept thinking of her nonstop. And when I finally called her, her brother had passed away that morning. And it had been bugging me to call her since the day before, and I should have called her the day before, but I didn't. So I was a few hours late. But so if I get a prompting to call somebody, I try to do it because I never know what's going on. And also dream sometimes. That when, I don't know if any of you knew Ned Foote. Did any of you know Ned Foote? He was an old time Baba lover and was with Baba at Myrtle Beach in 52 and 56, and that's probably 58. And he gave me my first set of discourses, and the first meeting I went to was at his house, his apartment in Washington, D.C. We became very close, and he kind of took care of me when I was finishing up my doctoral dissertation, in a way. And we would do a lot of things together. But anyway, so I was in a dance class, and Lorraine Pageant, who lived in India for a while, was also in the same dance class, Synergy, in Washington, D.C. And we were dancing. I said, "Hey, Lorraine, I had a dream about Ned last night." This was when he had been sick a lot. And I said, "I dreamed he passed away." And she laughed, and she said, "Well, he did." You know, and I didn't believe her. We just laughed. And then in the middle, I was in the ladies' room with her, and she said he really died. And I just burst into tears. Ned had actually come to me in a dream to let me know that he had passed away.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens. Yeah. He had a connection with the 12-step program, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And he also was the one who did, I've been told, the legal documentation for Sufism reoriented in the United States.
But didn't he know Bill W. before he kind of put together the 12-step program?
You know, I don't know that. I don't know that. I know Ned used to live on the West Coast, and then he came back to the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
So I don't know all of that.
Yeah, he has some connection there. Yeah. Okay, Ganesh, we've given you enough time.
I'm just enjoying what I'm listening today. It's kind of a day when I'm just in this absorption mode. So that's how it's like.
Now, who is Muncie Jajodia?
Sorry?
I have Muncie Jajodia. You don't have to come out of out of the nameplate, but she's on my screen.
Okay, Jodia.
Yeah.
Mansi Jodia.
Yes, Jai Baba.
Aha.
I'm in Bombay.
Ah. Are you
I'm in
near,
Bombay. Sorry, I can't put on my video just now. I'm not
Yeah, no,
appropriately dressed.
do you live near Dinku?
I'm in Juhu. I don't know where Dinku lives.
Uh-huh. And do you know any of the old Baba people that we might know?
I mean, I know Rakesh and
Rakesh.
a lot of people. Yes, and Somit Farzi and all of that group. Yes, a lot of people there.
Farzine? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Okay, I got your coordinates.
Yes, Priya is a very good friend.
Yeah. Good. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, I got a small little quote that Baba says in discourses about intuition, if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says, realization of God comes to the aspirant who uses discrimination as well as his intuition about true and lasting values. Infinite knowledge is latent in everyone, but it has to be unveiled. The way to increase knowledge is to put into practice that bit of spiritual wisdom a person may already happen to have. The teachings that have come to humanity through the masters of wisdom and the inborn sense of values that the aspirant brings with him shed sufficient light upon the next step the aspirant has to take. The difficult thing is to act upon the knowledge he has. One of the best methods of adding to one's own spiritual wisdom is to make use of the knowledge one already has. If the sadhana of knowledge is to be fruitful, it must be implemented at every step by due emphasis on action. Everyday life must be guided by discrimination and inspired by the highest intuitions.
Yeah, beautiful.
Which is something about that. The first line, realization of God comes to the aspirant who uses discrimination as well as his intuition about true and lasting values. That line about true and lasting values, to me personally, is what even makes me interested in perhaps turning towards the sun rather than facing the shadows all the time. It's probably the only thing that's helping me. I mean, Baba's love, of course, but it's what is truly lasting. What is a truly lasting value? What is ultimately the truth? And if I really am interested, or really like not even interested, it's like my whole being says yes and will die and live for that thing, for the truth, then uh, I have, there's literally God in human form that has given us this information that, like, for example, lust, greed, anger, and these other things that he's mentioning throughout the whole discourses and everything else he's ever said. It's like some such simple facts and simple things that in my mind, when I first hit them and when they first kind of get that wave of what Baba says, even if it's something so simple, it's like there's this disbelief or this like doubt that it just can't be that easy, and it's not. But it's also, it's just my intuition, I would say, is like eh, it's starting to basically, I can't fool myself. I can't fool my own self to really believe that that this thing is really real, and this thing is really going to keep me feeling good, or this is what's going to bring me that true, I think that's what Baba is, that gift for me is just like that grace of his, of touching into that truth, or that home, that ultimate place that I want to be. I don't want to be doing this anymore. I'm so, I feel like my skin's on fire. But it's just so much life and death and birth, and it's like I got to do it again and again, and I keep doing it to myself because I know I probably shouldn't keep thinking or forming those attachments or those feelings or those whatever, but it's like at this point the intuitions is more like instead of being so rigid, it's like just kind of feeling the rhythm or falling into that rhythm of Baba's rhythm, and mistakes will happen, the failures happen, but it's not about gaining anything, and it's not about, oh, I failed again, but it's just falling into his arms, again and again. I don't know, it's just like leaning
Yeah.
on the intuition is really what helps me keep turning towards the sun rather than facing the shadows and thinking that once again it's going to give me something, or I'm going to get something, or I'm going to really have any kind of lasting value in these shadows.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that that I have found is if I wasn't able to feel Baba's presence, I could always tune in to the divine qualities. They flow from Baba, you know, like generosity and humor, gratitude, forgiveness. Those are streams that flow right from Baba. So yeah, I would just go upstream. You take gratitude upstream, and there he is. You know, they're flowing right. So sometimes I found working backwards, I take the divine qualities are like the rays of the sun, but they're really synonymous with the sun. You know, and so all of those qualities are at the deeper realm of our heart. And so even to cultivate and focus on those things takes you out of the shadows tremendously. You know, and we have those right there. I mean, even patience, uh, uh, humor, generosity, all of those, all of those divine, really attributes of Baba are flowing into us. You follow, and that way
Yeah.
you lead, and then you get Baba's presence. I mean, it's hard to be grateful, feel grateful, and not feel Baba's presence at the same time.
Mm.
You know, once you get to gratefulness, you've got Baba. Once you get to a really deep sense of humor, you've got Baba right there. You know what I mean? Once you
Yeah.
feel a deep forgiveness, wow, Baba is there. You know, as the origin of it. Yeah.
It was very challenging because for a while there in my life, I spent many years trying to, I guess, compartmentalize my life. So there was like, well, I really need to develop more compassion, while at the same time I was ignoring the fact that, you know, my life was being controlled by greed or lust or whatever it was. I was just like totally ignoring that side, but I was like, I really need to be compassionate. So I'm just going to keep focusing on the positives, and like, you know, it was just more rigid, rather than now I seem to feel like the mistakes, I feel like Bob is just giving me the space to kind of make the mistakes, and that it's not no, it's not so much about gaining anything or developing some sort of particular positive attributes, because sometimes I really just can't feel compassion, or I can't feel, you know, I mean, it's kind of like those moments where you just, I don't even feel Baba. I don't feel those things that he talks about are so important to cultivate. But when I focus on him, like you say, it's like having that string, or even just like, even in the midst of whatever it is I'm doing, if there is that his grace of like, I could, he's just there's a little bit of like, you can't take it so seriously, like a little bit of like, where if you're in the middle of someone yelling at you, or you know, at work, or that I experience, and people asking you to do 10 things at once, and then there's a little bit of humor where he just is like, how real, you know, how, who is it that's who is it that's really taking on all this stress, you know, why do you need to, you know, it's just, there's a little bit of that where it's like, because I can't necessarily feel those things. You know, if people are upset at me, or if I'm in a high stress situation, I just, I can't even think of any methods. I can't like, I don't know. I can't do anything to be cultivate kindness. You know, I sometimes I might just feel like a sharpness about me, and then instead of, I guess, kind of pulling back or being like, I shouldn't do that, it's more like, no, okay, that's what happened. Okay, and next, and next. Or, you know, it's like, it's just letting it flow rather than being, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
focusing on the particulars, and being, it just took up so much of my mind before, to try to be a good person, and it was really challenging to try to hold that up all the time, because I felt like it
Yeah.
was caused a lot of tension. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. I kind of said a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah. Sometimes you can get it out of your system very. It's lighter, even though it's intense. It's lighter than it appears. You know, the anger can be, there's some kind of deep core anger, hardcore anger, And then there's just a superficial anger that flares up, but you don't continue to be angry.
Right. Right. There's not that you're talking about that mock anger. I always been curious about that. The mock.
Yeah.
That what you were talking. I don't think that's. I don't think that's. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but I know that it seems to be that it's like surface level, like you said. It's surface. It's not so much like a real deep
And
hatred.
it actually gets the job better done than real anger.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when I'll just give you an idea of when I would go to India, and these guys would all grab your bags, you know, your suitcases and everything. And I have a bunch of stuff I was bringing for the Mandali and all of that. And so I would just go, you know, I just, you know, because I could do gibberish so
Jeff
with
is
more conviction.
to death.
Huh?
Lenita said you scared
you
her.
know, they would
He's
like,
scared to death.
and they don't know what language I'm talking, but that, you know, they would back off. Really, I had to do it. I don't.
How is that going again?
I can't speak English like that. You know, it's
How
not.
is that going again, Jeff?
What?
I didn't understand what you say. Can you say again? I didn't understand.
She wants you to speak gibberish again.
Yeah.
It's
I
gibberish.
just make it up, you know, and they back off.
That was funny.
Yeah.
It's just like the it's like the energy of like you're kind of putting a boundary up. You're saying, hey, and then they're like, oh, but it's not like you hate them. You just are like, hey, excuse me, don't do that.
Yeah. But I don't, hey, excuse me, don't do that. That won't work.
No, not in English, of
You
course.
give
Yeah.
a blast.
Yeah.
Jeff, didn't you say that the Mandali used mock anger?
Yeah.
And what it was they showed their anger toward someone to get them to quit doing something like a parent would do toward a child who's doing something that would harm them. But they were able to be detached from the feeling of anger.
Yeah.
Weren't you the one who said that?
Yeah. There wasn't that barb, you know, that barb that anger has wasn't there. It's like a scorpion that can, that's been defanged. I mean, one time Erich got really angry at me because Mara had held me up and the bus was waiting, but I couldn't just leave Mara's presence, you know, in the middle of a story. So I came around the corner and Erich kind of laid into me. You know, the bus is there. You know, I mean, the people are waiting for you. But I didn't feel shamed at all. I mean, I got his point, but it didn't shame me at all. It didn't actually hurt like normal anger. And one time Bao said about Erich's anger, it's 100% mock anger. And Bao said about his own, I think he said 70% of mine is mock anger. 30%. But,
Jeff and others, I need to drop off. I have an office call right now, so
oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean,
So see ya.
where's your free will, Ganesh?
I wish I had a little more free will.
You have a will, but it's not that free.
So yeah, I'm getting full, so
good luck.
I don't feel like leaving.
Yeah,
So
well,
like,
we're gonna break up pretty soon.
okay.
Free will is
See you
function of
guys.
master within.
What's that?
And Dinesh here, Jai Baba.
Oh yeah, Dinesh, good to see you.
Yeah. Free will is of function of master within. Free
say
will
that-
is function of master within.
Free will.
Yes, Baba.
Yeah.
What did you say? Free will is of the.
Function. Free will is function of master within.
Oh, free
Yeah.
will is the function of the master within.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, when Baba eclipses your life, you can say you got free will because he's got free will. Beautiful. That's so true, Dinesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love is free. Everything else is not.
Love is free, free is love. That John Lennon song, you know. Love is free, free is love.
Yeah.
I remember that song.
Love is
Yeah. What about you, Jeff? What about intuition for you?
Intuition.
There's a good one. I wanna hear that.
What happens, I have found, is eventually intuition, which used to be kind of a separate faculty, comes down in you. So you kind of tend to embody intuition. Your body kind of moves from a kind of knowing, I guess. But I remember when I was young, I said to Adi Kearani, this was in around 1970. I said this back in New York City. I said, Adi, I have a faculty that can look at somebody and kind of know how they're feeling and what even maybe what they're thinking. And I said, what place does that have in Baba's scheme of things? And he said, that's good. That's perception, being able to see. But he said, but to feel how someone else feels from head to foot is a different order of being altogether. So he put my little camera angle into a larger context, and I definitely couldn't feel how other people feel from head to foot. That is what we eventually, Bob is going to awaken that, so you feel how someone else feels, and that's a beautiful thing. And we're meant to, but we have to kind of stop taking ourselves so seriously and being able to kind of move our consciousness over into someone else. But that's the way the Mandali were. He kind of told me that I realized, boy, I got a lot of work to do to be able to experience that.
But does that, when you were mentioning that the intuition, you made the motion like above your head to your heart, do you mean like it's more of just like you said, you're saying constant movement, or that movement? I don't suppose that's separate then from feeling, or not feeling, but experiencing Baba's presence. Is that similar? Because if intuition is a part of your higher self, which is Baba, then isn't that you're just basically experiencing Baba, or is that just a separate thing for you?
Huh. Interesting question. I mean, the I've had this. What can I say? In a sense, some people say, to feel Baba in others. What works better for me is to experience others as Baba in disguise. Mm-hmm. So, you see somebody that is really Baba in the form of Telly Leinbach. Rather than having Telly Leinbach there and then Baba's inside of him, I like it all. I'm talking about just me. I like to experience someone as a whole. And if I can tune into someone as they are, that's kind of that's the intuition brought down into the visceral level, you might say. And but I can't sustain that, you know. But love is the key that gets you out of yourself into somebody else, and to see them as. Uh, Baba says everyone is first in importance and no one is second. You know, it's in the discourses. And when you feel that way about people, I feel you're moving toward experiencing them as Baba in disguise.
So when Baba says, open the door of your heart, and I personally experience it as right here, as a kind of a central place of my self is like right here. Do you experience that? Or like when you're saying love, are you talking about that love that, for me, I can't really differentiate it between like the the human love versus like the divine love? I mean, I can, I guess, because when I feel Baba, I have a sense that there's both of like my human love and also divine love. I don't know. I can't really totally differentiate because I feel like sometimes with the divine love, it's got that ingredient of both the bliss and the heartbreak or something. This is just extreme. It's just beyond. It's not it's not a feeling or an emotion. It's like beyond myself, which is it feels like it stretches me beyond what I can handle, what I want to handle or what I can handle. Is that your experience? Does it come from here when you're talking about loving someone or another?
Yeah.
Is it a physical?
Yeah, it's but I think they're all just kind of one. There's kind of one love, and it's kind of whatever shade of experience. I mean, there's just like one sun, and the light might be vary, but it's the source. It's all one. So human love and loving Baba can be really pretty much one and the same. Um,
Yeah, Jeff. I
yeah.
think in some book, Baba says that after death, the soul goes through this analysis of what happened throughout your life, and you gather all the learnings from your just dropped body, and those experiences basically become your inborn wisdom for the next life. And if I remember correctly, that is intuition. But to access that, the mind really needs to be free from all the cravings and thoughts and all that. And for me at least, it's always a uh, it's always after the thing has happened that I know that, oh, that was intuition, but I can't access it at free, uh, at my will. But Baba's presence is, irrespective of what your mind is dealing with, you can still have Baba's presence with you. So I think Baba's presence and intuition to me are slightly different in that sense, because to access that intuition, you really need your mind to be still. Whereas with Baba's presence, the mind really doesn't come into picture as much.
Yeah. That I mean, yeah. This gets into very ineffable areas inside us. Um, but yeah, I mean, Baba's presence. You can feel Baba's presence and be feeling miserable at the same time. um, but you can have intuitions even if you're not at peace. I mean, I find.
Well, Jeff, don't you think that? Well, I'll just speak from my own perspective. You can be deceived in thinking something is intuition, And what I find is that can be the case if you have strong desires that you're holding on to and you want something to be true.
Yeah.
So the key for me is to check that whatever I think I'm getting as intuition, to make sure that it's not a desire. And oftentimes that comes by affirmations through a chance conversation with somebody, multiple instances of having that intuition brought up. I mean, recently in one of the talks that we had, someone was saying that Baba said the biggest bad thing in the world is noise. But I think he was talking about the kind of noise that gets in the way of our clear seeing. In the Christian tradition, they say now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. I think it's that same kind of, we get our intuition, the clear intuition that is really God in us speaking, and which is what I think is the breaking of the silence. God in us speaking is clouded over when we're not clear, when we're not tuned in, or when we're clouded by desires or the pull of sanskaras, or however you want to phrase it.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. I mean, I think developing, sharpening into intuition. I mean, one of my methods from going way back is if I think somebody is dishonest, and then I find that they're actually honest because I actually, circumstances showed that they were honest, then I would go to my mind and say, mind, I hold my mind accountable because I projected dishonesty on somebody, and so that was not an intuition. So I know that particular vibration, that particular quality of thought is not intuition. That was a projection. And you can check yourself throughout the day. You go to a party and you say, "Oh, you got something, Terry, to mention there?"
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but in my business, I would go out and call in a patient. And if it was a patient I had never met before, I had like maybe 60 seconds down the walkway with my hand on their back to figure out who they were before I went into their mouth to clean their teeth, which is very intimate, at least the way I
Yeah.
do it. Their head is like in my lap and I'm kind of in their face.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting because right now with COVID, they bring the patient to me right into my door. And
Yeah.
so I have no time if I've never met the patient before.
Yeah.
And the other day, a man comes in and I had never cleaned his teeth before. And there's several things I need to do now that I never needed to do before with COVID. They have to rinse for a minute with a special, it's a whole deal. So
Yeah.
I'm a drop anxious still, even though I've been doing it for a bit, because I don't want to forget anything, because it's all for the safety of me and this person.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing and he comes in and I realize I'm coming on too strong. And so I pulled myself back and I took a breath and I asked Bubba what to do. And I told him just what I told you, that I sometimes get anxious. And if I came on too strong, I really apologize. And that I'd like a minute with him just to breathe, and to feel who he is as a human being. And this electrical engineer who probably never met anyone like me before, kind of gave me the strange look. But when I was done, again, Bubba lets me know who these people are. And so it has to be intuition. I didn't have it all the time. It's definitely, I thought it was why I was good at what I did, because I could read people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's really Bubba. And it's so profound, the connection with this person now, that it's more than cleaning teeth. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, beautiful. That's the way, that's the way to do it. That's it's helpful, and it's Baba can contact these people while you're getting a sense of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That and you have to leave yourself. You may not realize, but you're leaving yourself to to see what kind of person they are,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the best exchange.
It's so deep.
Yeah.
And I guess I took it for granted because I didn't realize it was a gift from Baba. I thought it was a talent I had. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And once I realized it was a gift from Baba, and it's helped me so much in my work, but it's also helped me beyond my work, like it allows me to give spirit away, if you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
share spirit, I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I do come out about Baba in different ways, and people, I think when they're drawn to you with that connection, it makes them curious, and so they go home and they look him up and they tell me next time that they read about him, and it's just all good stuff.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. You're blessed to have that in such a natural way, I would say.
I feel lucky.
The world, we need more people like you around. Even in the government would be good too.
Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be wonderful?
I don't know. I felt like I saw 6 of them on stage today.
I know. That was great today.
I heard music behind it, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Okay, what was that? I missed that. What was this?
The cabinet members.
Oh. Well, I got this. I think it was right before this happened, when there was this peaceful transition, which happened yesterday. I was just expressing to a friend, I was like, where's Alan? It was like what Alan was saying. I've got to have the truth. We've got to have the truth. I kept saying that, but so emphatically. And it was later that day or that night that finally we've gotten some transition that's more peaceful. And I don't know. I just really think we've got to get back to the truth in this country. And
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to mention one thing. I put it in the chat. Meher Prasad was talking about the impressions that you take from one life to the next. So I happened to sit on in my first God Speaks session this Monday, and that's exactly what we read about. The precise thing you were talking about, Meher. It's on page 37 in the second edition, talking about what happens, and we got hung up on this one particular phrase: predominant counterpart of the opposite impressions gathered by the recently dissociated human form, etc. But anyway, if anyone wants to look it up, that's where it is. I mean, I can read it, but it's really hard to understand.
Well, yeah, what Mayor Prasad, was referring to is you distill your experience, and that becomes part of your intuition for the next lifetime. You've spent so many lifetimes seeking fame and everything, and it always ends up empty. And so you have that inborn knowledge, like, I'm just not going to go there. It's you get, it just doesn't give the fulfillment ultimately. So you kind of know that, so you just don't go there in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of things that we've seen through and aren't attracted to. But
yeah. Well, I have this one. I wish I could share with you guys, because there's this beautiful talk that Charles Haynes gave in the 1980s, and I don't have the link, unfortunately, but if you look it up, he shares this beautiful poem, and I don't know how it goes, but I was wondering if you knew it, Jeff. It's like, he had acted before me, he had thought of me before I had thought of him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you have that poem?
It's
I
by
think this is Bayezid, I think.
Bayezid Bastami.
Bayezid Bastami.
He was a perfect master.
How do you spell that name?
I just pasted it in the chat.
Thank you.
In fact, I think that was posted in Mandalay Hall. It goes something like this. I was mistaken in 4 ways. I sought to experience God. I thought, oh, darn it. Oh, wait. You guys just go ahead and talk. I'm going to find it on my computer.
I found it.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, let me send it to you though, because I like the way that you read.
No, you
I
read
could
it.
post.
Read it out. No, go ahead. You read it. This is very good. This was posted in Mandalay Hall, I think, because I wrote it down.
Yeah, the reason I thought of this is because I was going to say that for a topic of intuition, I actually had closed my eyes today, and it sort of flashed to me that like in the experiences of my life, especially lately, I'll say things like, oh, I wonder if that'll ever happen or something, or I wonder. I thought of that person, and then they all of a sudden they show up, or that thing happens, and sometimes it's negative, and so out loud I'll be like, Baba, please don't let this happen. I know I thought of it, but please, I don't want this wave of this, but it still happens. But this poem to me kind of it's like this kind of speaks to that, and I can't really put the words to it, so I'll let it say. So in the beginning, I was mistaken in 4 respects. I concerned myself to remember God, to know him, to love him, and to seek him. When I had come to the end, I saw that he had remembered me before I remembered him, that his knowledge of me had preceded my knowledge of him, that his love towards me had existed before my love to him, and he had sought me before I sought him.
Yep. That's from a perfect master.
Where was he from? Was he also from Persia
Persian.
or?
Persian.
And do we know the date that he lived?
Oh, about 1200. Something like that. He was around the same time as Mansur Halaj. He was what they called an ecstatic. These guys would say, "I am God," and they paid a price for it. Mansur Halaj, I mean, I won't even tell you what happened to him for saying Anil Haq, which is I am God. They asserted that, and that in Islam is sheer blasphemy. But they became God. They were God realized. Yeah.
Yeah, this says born 1804 CE, died 1874 CE.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know what CE is.
Because
it's Christian era, so that would be our 1804.
I don't know. I think these guys are way back.
Really?
Look up Mansur Halaj.
I was looking at Bayezid Bastami. What's his name? I could be. I mean, this is what I'm getting from Wikipedia, so I could be wrong. What's the other guy's name?
Mansur, Mansur.
Al-Halaj.
Hallaj.
Yeah, it says he was born 1858 AD in Iran and died March 26, 922 AD in Iraq.
Wait a minute, say that again.
Yeah.
He was born 858 AD and he died 922 AD.
That's Mansur al-Hallaj, right?
Yeah, he was executed.
Irach talked about Bayezid's congenital felicity. You know that, Jeff and others?
No, go ahead.
It's a very beautiful saying. Someone asked Bayezid, what is the most fortunate thing for a person in the world and to happen to someone in the world? And he said that the most fortunate thing is to be able to be born in a family that loves God, because then you don't have to search for him. You're born into that. And then they said, okay, what if the person is not born into a family like that? Then he said, then, the next best thing is to have a healthy body so that you can do the search yourself and be able to find God yourself. And they asked, okay, what if there is not a good body? I'm sick or something like that. Then he says, well, then at least if you're able to see, then that's the next best thing. Well, what if they're blind? Well, at least if you can hear, that's the next best thing. And what if I'm deaf? Then you would hope that you have a knowing heart, so that when you encounter one, you know that you have encountered this master. And then they ask, okay, what if I don't have a knowing heart? Then Bayezid says, well, if you're not born into a family who loves God and you don't have a healthy body and you cannot see and you're deaf and you don't have a good knowing heart, you're better off dead.
Here was one thing. Don Stevens asked Baba. Baba said, if you take my name at breathing your last, you'll come to me. So Don Stevens asked him, what does that mean? Now, previously, people thought that you would get liberated. But on this occasion, Baba said, you come to me, and then I send you, you're reborn into a Baba family. So, similar, I guess, to what Bayazid said. So you can be reborn into a Baba family. So you get to grow up with knowing of Baba, like Mayor Prasad, So what I would say about Mayor Prasad is that you were, devoted to Baba in your last life, and you remembered Baba at your death, and so Baba routed you over to a Baba family, and you grew up in a Baba family. That's the lovely thing.
What about those people who just jumped into his arms randomly or seemingly so?
Yeah, well, that happens too.
We just came from another Zoom where there were about 4 people who were talking about how they were raised Catholic. And yeah, more than 4 people, and there were only 14 of us. And so it was really interesting because they all felt kind of wayward until they found Baba. So they would have been born into a house that acted like they loved God.
Yeah, what happens is there's kind of a belief in God, and then there's the experience of God. And that's a kind of a belief in God is not that isn't necessarily helpful. I mean, it is, but you wind up making God a belief. You worship a belief rather than going for the experience. That's what happens, But But there are people like Lanita. I mean, she grew up in a as a Catholic. Now, did you pick up anything on the way? Did you kind of get a sense of God in growing up as a Catholic?
Well, not really, because my parents aren't like church goers. My father was an atheist. My mother wasn't too much of a church person. But I used to go with my girlfriends, when I was a teenager, just as a social kind of thing. That's how a lot of people did it in Brazil, in my hometown, because the country was Catholic. So we just have that background because we had it was part of our culture. It wasn't really a religious thing. It was more like a social thing.
Yeah.
But when I was a teenager, I had this recurring thought that with something in my head would say, I want to know the truth. And this was come back to me often. I don't know why. I don't know where they come from. I want to know the truth. I want to know the truth. And I found the truth. Eventually,
Yeah.
I asked, and truth came to me, because I never went to Baba, by my own will. I didn't search for God ever. And he found me. Baba got me. Baba found me. He uses Ira as a bait, and he got me. So it took him a while to Baba grow on me slowly, very slow.
Yeah.
I didn't care much when I saw his picture the first time. And but it was that recurring thought that I had, in my head.
Yeah.
It was coming from Baba, I'm sure. Baba was planting the seed, in my head, in my soul, that desire, to know the truth. So
Yeah. Baba says in the discourses that the faintest gleams of spirituality in us are never overlooked by the masters of wisdom. Something like that. I mean, that's not the exact quote, but any kind of longing for truth in anybody anywhere in the world, and they are right there at your doorstep eventually.
Right. Yeah, everything was very natural, for me.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
well, I guess it's kind of getting. Oh my God, we're up to 12 o'clock here, and
Wow, it's past midnight.
yes,
So
yeah.
a lot of you is still morning, right? Dinko, are you
Yes, it
still in
is.
are you in the?
Sorry, are you what?
You're
We
in
are
the
going
morning.
to bed, and you're getting up.
Yeah, it's 10:30 in the morning here.
Yeah,
Jeff,
Ganesh and Sham, you guys are all early.
Good morning. Jeff, I just have one question.
Yeah.
If you have the time to answer.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish between instinct and intuition?
Well, the way I think of it, instinct is kind of like self-preservation. It's kind of physical. I mean, it's kind of physically oriented, even though people use it almost as if it means intuition. He had an instinct for such and such, but
Yeah.
I try to keep the intuition kind of as comes from the soul, and instinct comes more from the body.
Okay.
Self-protection, that type of thing. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong with instinct. Baba said that he's moved from instinct to intuition, and then I think from intuition to inspiration and illumination. So we're working our way toward the light.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's also explained in God Speaks in the process of evolution, and it's within the first 40 pages. We just finished going through that too, and the instincts more belong in the animal world and basically reach their highest level in the animal world, and then we still have them, you know, in the human form. I meant animal form, sorry. But anyway, there's expansive discussion of that in God Speaks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, so I'll see all of you folks. You know, have a you know, just remember, Baba loves and adores you no matter what. He just seems to have no taste. He'll take anybody.
I just think
No, if you look at Ganesh looks a little like Baba from that angle.
Good night
Where's
and
Ganesh?
Thanksgiving.
Dinesh.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye,
Good night, Kelly.
Yeah, see you guys.
Bye,
Good night.
Bye,
See you all.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Baba
Say bye,
ki jai.
everybody.
Bye, Dinku.
Yes, Lanita. Good night.
Guys, bye, Alan.
Jai Baba.
Bar Mer Baba
Jai
ki
Baba.
Baba ki jai. Baba ki jai. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.